They are being underfed, underprotected, and overstressed, especially during the very hours when they are supposed to heal the most. And that healing window opens every single night while you sleep. When you lie down and the lights go off, your body does not shut down. It becomes intelligent in a different way. Blood flow redistributes, hormones shift, inflammation is meant to quiet. The brain enters a cleansing mode, flushing out oxidative waste that damages neurons and memory circuits. The eyes, which are essentially extensions of the brain, begin repairing the delicate retinal cells that process light, contrast, and detail. This nighttime repair is not optional, it is essential. But it is also fragile, and most people unknowingly sabotage it before their head even touches the pillow. The problem is not just what you eat during the day, it is what you eat in the evening, and what that food does to your blood sugar, insulin levels, and oxidative stress while you sleep. Heavy dinners, late sugar, refined carbohydrates, and processed snacks keep insulin elevated deep into the night. When insulin stays high, repair shuts down. Autophagy slows. Antioxidant systems weaken. Blood vessels feeding the brain and eyes remain inflamed and stiff. So instead of repair, the body stays stuck in a low-grade metabolic emergency. Night after night, this quiet sabotage accumulates. Your brain consumes more energy than any other organ, yet it cannot store fuel. It depends on a steady, clean supply of nutrients and fats to maintain memory, focus, and emotional balance. The retina is even more vulnerable. It has one of the highest metabolic rates in the entire body and is constantly exposed to light-induced oxidative stress. Without the right nutrients, retinal cells degenerate silently, long before vision tests show a problem. This is why people wake up one day and say their vision suddenly worsened or their memory feels foggy. The damage did not happen overnight. What is rarely discussed is that the body evolved with food patterns that supported nighttime repair. For thousands of years, people did not snack late into the night. They did not flood their bloodstream with sugar before sleep. Instead, they relied on small, nutrient-dense foods that provided minerals, fats, and protective compounds without disrupting insulin. Traditional dry fruits were part of this wisdom, not in excess, not mindlessly, but intentionally. Certain dry fruits contain minerals like magnesium and zinc that calm the nervous system and support synaptic repair. They provide healthy fats that stabilize neuronal membranes and improve signal transmission. They contain polyphenols that act as antioxidants, crossing the blood-brain barrier and neutralizing free radicals right where damage occurs. These compounds do not work like drugs. They work like nourishment. They do not force the body, they cooperate with it. During deep sleep, the blood-brain barrier becomes more selective, not less. Only specific nutrients can pass through efficiently. This is why timing matters. When the digestive system is calm, when insulin is low, and when inflammation is quiet, these nutrients are escorted directly to the tissues that need them most. The brain uses them to reinforce memory circuits. The eyes use them to repair photoreceptors and protect the macula. This is not magic. This is physiology. Modern nutrition has trained people to think in terms of supplements and shortcuts. A pill for memory, a capsule for vision. But the body does not recognize isolated compounds the way it recognizes food. Food comes packaged with signals that say repair, rest, rebuild. Traditional dry fruits carry these signals because they evolved alongside human metabolism. They are slow, stable, and information-rich. When eaten correctly, they do not spike blood sugar. They do not overstimulate digestion. They whisper to the body instead of shouting at it. Another overlooked factor is oxidative stress during sleep. Many people assume oxidative damage only happens during activity or stress. In reality, oxidative stress can increase at night if blood sugar fluctuates or if digestion remains active. This oxidative burden directly damages neurons and retinal cells. Polyphenols and natural antioxidants from certain dry fruits act like nighttime guardians, buffering this stress and allowing repair enzymes to function properly. Without them, the repair crew shows up, but the environment is too hostile to work efficiently. Memory is not stored in one place. It is reinforced through repeated nighttime consolidation. Every night your brain decides what to keep and what to discard. This process depends on healthy synapses, adequate minerals, and stable energy supply. When these are missing, memories fade not because you are aging, but because the infrastructure supporting them is crumbling. Vision follows a similar pattern. Clarity depends on the integrity of microscopic cells that must be renewed continuously. Starve them, and they slowly dim. What is remarkable is how quickly the body responds when it is finally supported. People often report deeper sleep, clearer mornings, reduced eye strain, and sharper recall within weeks of correcting evening nutrition. Not because something was added aggressively, but because something harmful was removed and something supportive was introduced gently. This is the power of working with the body's nighttime intelligence. The goal is not to overwhelm the system or chase instant results. It is to restore trust, to signal safety, to allow the body to shift from survival mode into repair mode. Traditional dry fruits, when chosen wisely and eaten at the right time, become part of this signal. They say the day is done, resources are available, healing can proceed. This approach respects the body's design. It does not fight aging. It removes the obstacles that make aging accelerate. It does not promise immortality or perfect memory. It promises something far more realistic and far more valuable: preservation. Preservation of clarity, of sharpness, of independence. And it begins not with force, but with nourishment delivered at the exact moment the body is listening most closely. This first dry fruit works quietly, without stimulation, by improving how blood reaches the most delicate tissues of the eye and brain during sleep. The retina depends on tiny capillaries to deliver oxygen and nutrients, and these vessels are extremely sensitive to insulin spikes and oxidative stress. When blood sugar rises late in the evening, these vessels constrict and stiffen, reducing nighttime nourishment. This dry fruit helps prevent that by slowing glucose release and keeping insulin low, allowing steady, relaxed blood flow to continue through the night. Inside retinal and brain cells, energy is produced by mitochondria. These structures are easily damaged by free radicals, especially during sleep when repair should be happening. The natural fats in this dry fruit intake rate into mitochondrial membranes, making them more stable and efficient. At the same time, its antioxidant compounds neutralize excess oxidative stress so mitochondria can focus on producing clean energy rather than fighting damage. When energy production improves, visual signal processing becomes sharper and neuronal communication becomes more reliable. Memory consolidation depends heavily on the hippocampus, a region that is particularly vulnerable to inflammation and mineral deficiencies. This dry fruit supplies magnesium and trace minerals that act as calming signals to the nervous system. Magnesium helps regulate NMDA receptors, which are critical for forming and stabilizing memories during deep sleep. When these receptors are overstimulated by stress hormones or blood sugar swings, memory formation becomes fragmented. By calming this pathway, the brain can smoothly transition into the slow-wave sleep phases where learning is locked in. Blood sugar stability is central to all of this. A small portion of this dry fruit before the evening cutoff does not spike glucose. Instead, it buffers it. The combination of fiber, fat, and minerals slows digestion just enough to prevent nocturnal hypoglycemia, which is a hidden trigger for cortisol release at night. When cortisol rises, insulin follows and repair shuts down. By preventing this cascade, the optic nerve and hippocampus remain in a low inflammatory environment where regeneration is possible. Neuroplasticity does not only happen during learning, it happens during rest. Synapses are pruned, reinforced, and reorganized while you sleep. The healthy fats from this dry fruit provide the raw material for neuronal membranes, improving signal transmission, speed, and clarity. This is especially important for visual processing, where signals must travel rapidly and accurately from the retina to the visual cortex. When brains are nourished, less energy is wasted, and fewer signals are lost to noise. Portion size matters because the brain responds to signals, not excess. A small, consistent amount tells the body that resources are available without triggering digestion overload. Eating it too late or in large quantities turns nourishment into stress. Timing it earlier in the evening, when insulin sensitivity is naturally declining but digestion is still calm, allows its nutrients to circulate during the first half of sleep when repair is most active. Consistency matters more than quantity because the brain learns patterns. When this dry fruit becomes a regular part of the evening routine, it acts as a repeated message of safety and predictability. Over time, the nervous system anticipates repair, blood vessels relax more easily, and sleep architecture improves. This is not a superfood effect. It is a biological conversation between food and physiology where quiet signals produce lasting clarity. The second dry fruit works on a deeper layer of decline that most people never feel until damage is already established. Chronic inflammation does not announce itself with pain or obvious symptoms in the brain and eyes. It operates quietly, thickening blood, irritating vessel walls, and disrupting the insulation around nerves. Over time, this low-grade inflammation weakens microcirculation to the retina and interferes with the precise electrical signaling required for memory and focus. Vision slowly loses sharpness, not because the eyes are failing, but because the communication system feeding them is inflamed and inefficient. Microcirculation is critical because the brain and eyes rely on the smallest blood vessels to deliver oxygen and remove metabolic waste. Inflammation causes these vessels to narrow and stiffen, reducing flow during sleep when repair should occur. This dry fruit contains natural anti-inflammatory compounds that relax vessel walls and improve blood fluidity. As circulation improves, retinal cells receive a more consistent supply of oxygen and nutrients, and waste products are cleared more efficiently. This creates a cleaner internal environment where healing processes can proceed without obstruction. Nerve insulation, known as myelin, is essential for fast and accurate signal transmission. Inflammatory stress and mineral deficiencies gradually erode this insulation, leading to slower processing speed, mental fatigue, and increased eye strain. The trace elements in this dry fruit support enzymes involved in myelin maintenance and repair. During sleep, when the brain prioritizes structural restoration, these nutrients are incorporated into nerve pathways, reinforcing insulation and reducing signal leakage. This results in clearer visual processing and more efficient neural communication. Oxidative stress is another silent driver of cognitive and visual decline. Free radicals damage synapses and retinal cells, interfering with neurotransmitter balance and light signal conversion. The antioxidants in this dry fruit do not act aggressively. They modulate oxidative load, preventing excessive damage without suppressing necessary cellular signaling. This balance is crucial because the brain relies on controlled oxidation for normal function. By restoring equilibrium, synaptic repair becomes more effective during deep sleep cycles. Memory and focus improve not because something is artificially stimulated, but because obstacles are removed. When inflammation subsides and nerve insulation strengthens, neurons communicate with less resistance. Recall becomes smoother, attention feels more stable, and mental effort decreases. In the eyes, reduced inflammation translates into less strain, fewer tension headaches, and improved contrast sensate. Ivety over time. These changes are gradual, often noticed as a general sense of clarity rather than a sudden shift. This dry fruit does not override biology or force results. It supports the conditions the brain and eyes require to heal themselves. By calming inflammation and improving microcirculation, it allows the body's innate repair systems to function as designed. When eaten consistently and appropriately, it becomes part of the nighttime environment that signals safety and restoration. Over weeks, this steady support reshapes the internal terrain, allowing memory and vision to improve naturally without stimulation, strain, or artificial enhancement. The third dry fruit influences vision and memory through a pathway most people never connect to food: nighttime hormonal balance. The brain cannot repair itself in a hormonally chaotic environment. When insulin remains elevated, cortisol rises inappropriately, or melatonin is suppressed, the brain stays alert when it should be rebuilding. This internal mismatch quietly accelerates cognitive decline and visual fatigue. Not because the brain is weak, but because it is never given uninterrupted time to heal. Insulin is meant to fall in the evening, signaling the body that energy intake is complete and repair can begin. Late night sugar or refined carbohydrates keep insulin elevated, blocking autophagy and increasing oxidative stress in neural tissue. This dry fruit releases its energy slowly, preventing sudden glucose fluctuations. The presence of fiber, fats, and minerals allows insulin to remain stable rather than reactive. This stability is critical because low, steady insulin permits the brain to shift into maintenance mode, where damaged proteins and dysfunctional cells are broken down and recycled. Cortisol, the stress hormone, should be lowest at night. Blood sugar dips or digestive stress can trigger cortisol. Release during sleep, fragmenting rest and interfering with memory consolidation. The slow nourishment from this dry fruit acts as a metabolic buffer, preventing nocturnal hypoglycemia that would otherwise activate the stress response. When cortisol remains quiet, the hippocampus is protected from inflammatory signaling that erodes memory circuits over time. Melatonin is more than a sleep hormone. It is a powerful antioxidant within the brain and retina. Its release depends on a calm metabolic environment. Insulin spikes and cortisol surges suppress melatonin, reducing its protective effects. The micronutrients in this dry fruit support the enzymes involved in melatonin synthesis, allowing levels to rise naturally as darkness deepens. As melatonin increases, retinal cells receive protection from oxidative damage, and the brain's detoxification systems become more active. During deep sleep, the glymphatic system flushes metabolic waste from the brain, including proteins linked to cognitive decline. This process requires stable blood flow and low inflammatory signaling. Hormonal balance supports this clearance, while imbalance obstructs it. By promoting steady insulin and low cortisol, this dry fruit indirectly enhances nighttime detoxification. Waste removal improves, synaptic space clears, and neurons regain functional efficiency. This food does not stimulate the nervous system or create artificial alertness. Instead, it encourages the conditions where true rest becomes possible. Over time, deep sleep becomes more consistent, and the brain spends more hours in repair-focused stages. Visual processing benefits because retinal cells are no longer exposed to nightly hormonal stress. Cognitive resilience improves not as a sudden enhancement, but as a gradual strengthening of internal rhythms. Long-term brain health depends less on stimulation and more on alignment. When hormones follow their natural nighttime patterns, repair becomes reliable rather than sporadic. This dry fruit supports that alignment by providing gentle, predictable nourishment that works with circadian biology. The result is not a quick boost, but a stable foundation for memory, focus, and visual clarity that persists as the years pass. The benefits of these dry fruits depend less on what they are and more on when and how they are eaten. Timing is not a trend or a rule invented by nutrition science. It is embedded in human biology. As evening approaches, digestion naturally slows, insulin sensitivity decreases, and the nervous system begins shifting toward rest. When food respects this transition, the body moves smoothly into repair. When it doesn't, even the healthiest foods can become disruptive. One of the most common mistakes is overeating. Dry fruits are dense, and density sends a strong metabolic signal. Large portions keep digestion active for hours, elevating insulin and diverting blood flow away from the brain and eyes. Instead of entering deep sleep, the body stays partially alert, managing digestion rather than restoring tissue. This cancels the very benefits people seek. Small amounts communicate safety and sufficiency, excess communicates stress. Another mistake is combining dry fruits with sugar, honey, syrups, or refined carbohydrates. This pairing accelerates glucose absorption and triggers insulin spikes that persist into the night. When insulin remains elevated, melatonin release is suppressed and nighttime repair is delayed. The brain struggles to enter slow-wave sleep, the stage where memory consolidation and neural repair are most active. Vision clarity suffers because retinal cells rely on these deep sleep phases for renewal. Eating too late is equally problematic. Late night consumption, even of nutrient-dense foods, overlaps with body's natural melatonin rise. Digestion and sleep compete for resources, fragmenting sleep architecture. The first half of the night, which should be dominated by deep restorative sleep, becomes lighter and more disrupted. This is the window when the brain clears oxidative waste and reinforces memory pathways. Missing this window repeatedly leads to cumulative decline. Digestion, insulin, and sleep are not separate systems, they are tightly linked. Food intake drives insulin. Insulin influences cortisol and melatonin. These hormones shape sleep depth and duration. When evening nutrition is calm and predictable, insulin falls smoothly, cortisol stays low, and melatonin rises on schedule. This hormonal harmony allows blood vessels to relax, neural inflammation to subside, and repair mechanisms to activate fully. Small changes make a profound difference because the body responds to patterns, not isolated events. Shifting dry fruit intake earlier in the evening, reducing portion size, and avoiding sugar combinations gradually retrains the nervous system. Over weeks, sleep becomes deeper and more stable. Over months, memory recall feels smoother, mental agitation decreases, and visual strain lessens. These changes often appear subtle at first, then suddenly noticeable. Tradition understood this intuitively. Evening nourishment was simple, intentional, and modest. There was no constant grazing, no sweetened combinations, no late stimulation. This simplicity aligned with circadian biology, allowing the brain and eyes to repair themselves night after night. Respecting this rhythm does not require perfection or restriction. It requires attention and restraint. When evening nutrition honors the body's internal clock, repair becomes consistent rather than occasional. Vision clarity improves because retinal cells are restored in their proper window. Memory strengthens because use consolidation occurs without interruption. Mental calmness emerges because the nervous system feels safe enough to let go. These outcomes are not forced. They unfold naturally when timing, simplicity, and biology are allowed to work together. The most important shift is not adding something new, but restoring trust in what the body already knows how to do. The brain and the eyes were designed with powerful repair systems that activate every night without conscious effort. When these systems fail, it is not because the body is broken or aging unfairly, but because it has been receiving confusing signals for too long. Signals of scarcity, stress, and instability slowly replace signals of safety and nourishment, and repair is postponed night after night. Vision and memory decline are often misunderstood as personal failures or genetic destiny. In reality, they are reflections of long-term biological messaging. The body listens constantly. It listens to blood sugar patterns, to hormonal rhythms, to the timing and quality of nourishment. When those signals suggest danger or overload, the body prioritizes survival over restoration. When they suggest consistency and sufficiency, repair quietly resumes. These dry fruits do not act as cures or corrections. They do not override damage or force outcomes. Their role is far more subtle and far more respectful. They help lower nighttime stress signals, stabilize energy availability, and reduce internal friction that blocks healing. In doing so, they create a physiological environment where the brain and eyes are finally allowed to do what they have always been capable of doing. Sleep is not passive. It is an active, intelligent process guided by hormones, circulation, and cellular communication. During deep sleep, memory is reorganized, neural connections are strengthened, and damaged components are recycled. Retinal cells undergo renewal, oxidative waste is cleared, and visual pathways are refined. None of this can happen efficiently in a body that feels unsafe, inflamed, or unstable. Nourishment that respects circadian biology helps restore that sense of safety. Patience matters because biology moves at the pace of trust. The nervous system does not respond to urgency or fear. It responds to repetition and predictability. Small, consistent signals delivered night after night reshape internal expectations. Over time, sleep deepens, inflammation quiets, repair becomes more reliable. The changes may not announce themselves loudly, but they accumulate steadily. Consistency matters more than intensity because the body values rhythm over excess. Large interventions disrupt balance, while gentle repetition reinforces it. A modest, thoughtful approach signals abundance without stress. This is how long-term resilience is built, not through stimulation, but through stability. Respecting physiology means working with the body's design rather than against it. It means acknowledging that healing cannot be rushed or forced. It unfolds when conditions are right. These dry fruits serve as part of that condition, not as solutions, but as messengers. True healing does not happen through effort or control. It happens quietly in darkness when the body feels supported enough to let go. When nourishment is steady, hormones are calm, and sleep is deep, the brain and eyes return to their natural rhythm of renewal. Night after night, the body restores what the day has used, preserving clarity, memory, and balance in the most silent and reliable way it knows.